everybody. I hope you're having a great fourth week of distance learning. Today we are going to be working on two different bullet points in your packet. They're the bullet points about volume, and one just says find the volume of a rectangular prism, and the other one says using the digits 1 through 9, at most one time each, place a digit in each box to create two rectangular prisms where the larger one has double the volume of the other. So both of these problems have to do with volume. The first we're going to use just as a quick review of what volume is. I know my students have not learned volume yet this year. We were just about to do it right after spring break and we got interrupted. So this is actually new knowledge for a lot of you guys. And so I want you to pay close attention, okay? So our problem is find the volume of a rectangular prism with side lengths of 3, 7, and 4 units. Remember, volume equals A times B times C. So that's what I wrote up here. I circled a few things. One is I circled 3, 7, and 4, okay? And then I actually drew a rectangular prism right here with side lengths 3, 4, and 7. Our formula, which is a expression that we're going to use to solve it, is A times B times C. Another thing you're going to hear when we're talking about volume, another way you would hear A times B times C, is length times width times height. So when we are solving for the volume of a rectangular prism or a cube, because they're both prisms, we are going to multiply our length times our width times our height, okay? And just so we know what volume is going to be how much space is inside of this rectangular prism. So we are measuring our space in units. Sometimes you might measure it in inches or feet or yards, but we just said units, which basically means it's any measurement, okay? So we are going to measure how much space is inside of this. And in order to do that, we are going to multiply our three numbers, 3 times 7 times 4. So I wrote out this problem right here. 3 times 7 times 4. Okay? And when we're multiplying, we're just going to go in order, or we're just going to start with multiplying the first two. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 7, and I'm going to get 21. So I kind of drew that bracket to show that I'm doing 3 times 7. So now I'm going to do 21 times 4. I want you to go ahead and write this out and do it on your own. It's a simple multiplication problem. If you need to pause the video real quick, go ahead and do that. When I did 21 times 4, I got 48, okay? When you are writing your answer, you're not just going to say, and I'm sorry, I read it backwards. It's actually 84. I'm really sorry. I know you caught that mistake, so good job. When you're writing your answer, it's not just going to be 84. It's going to be 84 units cubed. Cubed is the little tiny 3. I'm going to show you what that looks like real quick. Forgive me, I did not have my pen. So it's going to say 84 units. If they told me it was inches, I would write inches instead of units. And then cubed. Cubed is, forgive me, cubed is that little 3 right there. So I'm going to say 84 units cubed. I would like you to try now with these two shapes, okay? So we got, nice up and close. We got 2 more rectangular prisms. We got 4, 10, and 3. We got 5, 6, and 2. So I would like you to find the volume, which is how much space is inside. And we're going to do this by multiplying. A times B times C. You could also say, oh, it's the length times the width times the height. So on this one right here, you're going to say 4 times 10 times 3. And over here, you're going to say 5 times 6 times 2. Go ahead and pause the video to solve those two problems. Do not forget to label it properly. Units cubed, that little tiny 3. I hope you're finished. I would like to show you my work. So right here on our first one, we have 4 times 10 is 40. We said 40 times 3 is 120. And I wrote units cubed. Okay? And on this side, we have 5 times 6 is 30 times 2 is 60 units cubed. So that is how we solve for volume. Next, we are going to move on to a more difficult problem where you're going to have to use your critical thinking skills. So get ready. Okay, now we are going to move on to the bullet point below that, okay? Again, this problem uses a lot more critical thinking, so we are going to have to do a little bit of problem solving, thinking critically about the problem, and we're going to have to maybe do a little bit of guessing and checking, okay? So be prepared to kind of struggle through this problem a little bit. Okay, here's the problem. Using the digits 1 through 9, at most one time each, place a digit in each box to create 2 rectangular prisms where the larger one has double the volume of the other. So just as a reminder, I wrote that volume is A times B times C. So we're going to remember that we're multiplying our 3 numbers. And then double. I thought that was a super important word because that's how we're going to know if it's correct or not, is that the larger one has double the volume of the other. So when I hear the word double, I think twice as many, or I could think times 2. So if I multiplied the volume of my smaller shape times 2, I would get my larger shape. Before we get started on this, I want you guys to know there are multiple answers to this problem. If you work this out on your own and got a different answer, I would love it if you could put in the chat what your other answer is and share it with all of our neighbors. Or if we finish this problem and you want to think of another answer, then go ahead and spend some time on that and share in the chat. Sorry. So I made a large picture to show our 2 rectangular prisms. And then up here I just actually put the numbers so that I can make sure I do not use them more than once. If I use the number, I'm going to cross it off and make sure that we do not use it again. So I can use these numbers 1 through 9. There's only 6 boxes. We're not going to use every single number. We're just going to use 6 numbers. So the strategy that I would like to use is to utilize my 1 and my 2, because I know that anything times 1 will be itself. And then I know that if I said times 2, then that would make this shape double what this shape is. So I'm going to go ahead and say that our width on the smaller box is 1, and on my larger box is 2. Okay? And again, if this doesn't work, we can go ahead and try something new. But I just thought this was a good idea. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. I wrote it on the wrong ones. So I'm going, as you can see, I make mistakes sometimes. That is my 1. This is my 2. I'm going to rewrite it again. So we're going to say blank times 2. And over here we're going to say blank times 1. And I used my 1 and I used my 2. So basically, I'm going to have to find 2 numbers that multiply, and then I would multiply it times 1. And over here I'd say 2 numbers that multiply times 2. If I can find 2 different ways to multiply to get the same exact number, then I know that I can use my 1 over here and my 2 over here. So I need to find two numbers that multiply to equal the same as a different two numbers I'm going to use over here. So we're just going to start testing things out and see. I'm going to think about my 3 and my 4. Okay? So I'm going to say 3 times 4 equals 12. We're going to think about, is there another way to multiply any of these numbers to equal 12? Well, for one, I can think of, hey, I can do 6 times 2. That would work. 6 times 2 equals 12. Oh, I can't use 2 because I already used it. So we're going to have to come up with something else. I'm going to scratch that out. Okay, so I tried my 3 and 4. Maybe next I will try 4 and 5. So I'm going to try 4 times 5 equals 20. 4 times 5 equals 20. I want you to think of all the different ways you could multiply something to equal 20. I'm thinking 10 times 2 and 20 times 1. I'm going to write those down. 20 times 1. Okay, so 10 times 2, 20 times 1. I can't use either of those because 10 and 20 are not in my numbers right here. So we are going to say, oh, that doesn't work. This might take a while, huh? Well, I'm just going to go and try a random one. I'm going to try 4 and 6. If you want to try something else, you can pause this video and see if you can work it out on your own real quick and see if you can come up with anything. But I'm going to try 4 times 6, okay? So 4 times 6 equals 24. I need to think of all the different ways I can make 24. I could do 24 times 1. I could do 12 times 2. I could do 8 times 3. So 24 times 1 doesn't work because we already used our 1, and 24 is too big of a number. 12 times 2 doesn't work for that same exact reason. So let's see if 8 times 3 works. We need to only use these numbers once. If I use 4 and 6 and 8 and 3, then I would cross off my 4, my 6, my 8, and my 3, and we have met those requirements. Now my question for you is, do you think it matters if we use the 4 and the 6 here or here? Do you guys think it would make a difference? Remember, in the end, we want our volume to be double on this one. Well, let's go ahead and explore that. So I'm going to just first try putting the 4 and 6 here, and I'm going to put the 8 and 3 over here. Okay? We're going to see if it even works, because we're not sure yet. Okay, so here's what I have. I put 4 times 6 times 1, and over here I put 8 times 3 times 2. So we'll solve this one first. 4 times 6 is 24, times 1 would be 24. So for our first smaller rectangular prism, we got 24 as our volume. Let's go ahead and solve this one. Remember, we're not looking for the same volume, we're looking for double, which means I could multiply it by 2, and I could multiply this one by 2, and I would get that one, okay? Or I could add this one up twice, and that would be double. So I'm going to solve this one. 8 times 3 is 24, times 2 equals 48. So we got this one is 24, and this one over here is 48. Let's check if it's double. So I'm going to say 24 times 2, and I'm going to solve that. If you prefer addition, go ahead and do 24 plus 24. if you prefer division, you could actually do 48 divided by 2 and see what you get. I'm going to go ahead and do addition. So 24 plus 24. 4 plus 4 is 8, and 2 plus 2 is 4. And I did get 48. So I know that this doubled would be the same volume as our bigger rectangle. So we know this one works. But remember I said, do you think it matters if we put 4 times 6 here or here? Let's find out if it changes our answer, okay? So I'm going to do it above my picture. So on the bigger rectangle, instead of 8 times 3, I'm going to put 4 times 6 times 2. And on my smaller rectangle, instead of 4 times 6, I'm going to put 8 times 3 times 1. And we're going to go ahead and solve that again. So we're making a hypothesis. Do you think that this will change our answer? We're going to find out. So I'm going to go ahead and solve it real quick. I want you to go ahead and solve it too. If you need to pause the video, go ahead. 4 times 6 is 24, times 2 is 48, so my volume has not changed. And 8 times 3 is 24, times 1 is also 24. So there you have it, you guys. We have actually found 2 different solutions for our problem. I know there are at least 4 more solutions. I want to see how many you can find. There actually might be more than 4. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in. I'm going to put in 8 and 3, and I'm going to put in 4 and 6. Okay. Again, if you would like to switch these and have your 8 and 3 over here and your 4 and 6 over here, that is your choice and you are completely able to. I'm so excited to see what you guys come up with and what kind of other solutions you find. This was a great problem and challenged me. I hope it challenged you. Remember to be looking at your teacher's extra pages to find extra activities on volume. Again, today was a new topic, and I really encourage you to go ahead and try to find the time to practice volume more. I used to teach 7th grade math, and we did volume in 7th grade. So you're going to need it in 6th grade, you're going to need it in 7th grade, you're going to need it in 8th grade. So it is a very good idea to make sure that you have mastered volume while you are staying at home. Thank you.